Jacob deGrom, where's Jacob? Anyone heard from him recently? He's been out. O-U-T. And the Mets had a line that they would use, very common line. It comes in the handbook for owners and GMs about injuries and what to say about your injured player. It's always important to lie about the nature of a player's injury because we really don't want other teams knowing anything about our players. Even when these players are signed to long-term deals and we're not going to trade them, we still don't want other teams to know the truth about the injuries because we have no great interest in getting held up if we go out and try to trade for a replacement. But of course, it never works because every GM in the game and every president of the game who has any modicum of experience doesn't pay attention to anything that opposing teams' GMs say in the media or, frankly, to us in private conversations or in text. What we do know is you have to declare an injury when you put a player on the injured list. But what we also know is that we can say anything and get sign off from doctors who we employ and have that be the reason for the injured list appearance. Leg discomfort can be code word for torn hamstring. Forearm discomfort can be code word for Tommy John. Shoulder inflammation can be code word for torn labrum. And I'm not trying to be a doctor here, folks. I'm trying to tell you what we did and what teams do. So when you're listening to your favorite team's GM or president or owner, or you're watching the transactions or reading them, you will say, oh, I was listening to Samson that one day, and he said, there's no way that Jacob deGrom's elbow could have resolved itself. He had a partial tear of the UCL. Now, we call that sprains. A strain of a hamstring. That just means a partial tear. A strain of the UCL, a sprain of the UCL means it's frayed, partially torn, but not snapped off like a piece of kindling. When you have a tear of the UCL, there's no recovery from that. You have to have Tommy John. When you have a partial tear of your UCL, you have to be Masahiro Tanaka in order to recover from that. But the likelihood is that you will not be able to pitch again without Tommy John. Remember, you've got Tyler Glasnow dealing with that right now from the Tampa Bay Rays. So Jacob deGrom kept having injuries, and the Mets said to us, as teams do, he's not ready to throw. His injuries resolved itself. We have no further updates. And when he was not pitching or he'd miss his turn or go on the IL, it would be he's got a this, he's got a that, he's got a shoulder, he's got a forearm, he's got an oblique, he's got a hip, he's got a side, he's got a knee, he's got an ankle, he's got a finger. It all happens when you pitch from a problem in your elbow. And the problem in your elbow either is the precursor to other problems in your shoulder and body, or the result of existing problems in your shoulder and body. Why? Because if your body is not operating how it is used to, mechanically speaking, you are going to create an injury. The best example for lay people, as we are, and let's talk about running, which I do. If you have a problem with your hamstring and you try to run, you are going to change your gait. By changing your gait, you are likely to get foot problems, quad problems, glute problems. If you have a problem with a toe and you have a blister or you have some sort of soreness in your toe and you try to run and you change from going toe heel to heel toe, you change your pronation in some such way, you're guaranteed to hurt something else, which is why as a runner, they say the best thing you could do, rest. But as an obsessive compulsive runner, it's difficult to rest. But as I've gotten older, I've been able to understand that resting can have as good an impact on your body as running. The rest days are critical. When you are a pitcher, what you don't know, because you're told it by the trainers, but as executives, we have to stop pitchers from pitching when we see a problem because we don't want them to hurt something else. So deGrom started and stopped all season long. He hasn't pitched, and I don't know when, Coca, but it seems like a long time. Alderson says deGrom is fine now. The ligament is perfectly intact at this point. Whatever condition existed before, it's resolved itself. That's impossible. Did he rest? And now he's totally fine. And if he's totally fine, why aren't you ramping him up? And if you're not ramping him up because you know there's no time to ramp him up in order to start games, but you could ramp him up to put him in the bullpen, which the bullpen is crushing the Mets, do you do it? If you're not doing it, it is proof, QED, that deGrom is unable to pitch, and they are hopeful that he can avoid another Tommy John surgery, which could be a major problem for a man who's got quite a few years left on his contract. He last pitched, let's figure this out, 2 months ago. My guess is, when is it, Coca? July 7th? July. Okay, this is exactly right. Jacob deGrom has not pitched in a game since July 7th. Today is September 8th. That's 2 months. That's 60 days. When a pitcher's coming back from a 60-day disabled list, they have to start throwing off a mound. Then they've got to, first they do a long toss, then they throw off a mound, then they do rehab starts. Some teams only let a pitcher who they want back to do one rehab start, maybe two, and then they bring him back in the bullpen, where they get him up to 70 or 80 pitches to see if he can start again, like the Red Sox did with Chris Sale. But with Jacob deGrom and his injury history, no chance, toilet pants. I've got to wait to see for you today. Wait to see when we tell you something's going to happen. And if it does, we revisit it. If it doesn't, we revisit it. Here's a wait to see. Jacob deGrom is not winning the Cy Young. He was favored to win it. He's not going to win the MVP. He was favored to win it. That's too easy. Jacob deGrom is not going to pitch another inning. He won't face another batter this season. We are now September 8th. When you run a team and you see the month of September upon you, and you've got your best pitcher who you were invested so highly in, and you know that you've got a very unlikely chance of making the playoffs. And if you do make the playoffs, you have an unlikely chance of getting the ring, even with luck. There's only two words to say: shut down.